Good afternoon. My name's Jo Stevenson. I'm from ESCO Brand Solutions. ESCO is an international organisation that produces hardware and software for the packaging industry, and its mission is to drive digital transformation in the packaging industry. What I'm going to be talking about is the benefits of digital transformation in delivering agility and speed to market in the beauty sector. So first and foremost, a quick 20 seconds on me. I've worked with ESCO for several years, and I've worked in the packaging industry for over 25. In fact, I think it's nearly 30, which is a bit worrying. I've worked across the print, packaging and digital transformation sectors, and I work with many companies on their packaging strategy, their marketing and their digital transformation programs. I'm also a director of EFIA, which is the Flexo Industry Association, which is the print technique that's incredibly popular in packaging. I'm a co-founder of Women in Packaging UK, which is an initiative to connect women in the industry together. And I'm also a non-exec director of 2 packaging suppliers into the personal care sector. So I'm pretty au fait with the industry that you're operating in, and delighted to be talking to you this afternoon. So first and foremost, I'm sure you've seen it in a lot of presentations, we've clearly had an incredibly challenging industry in 2020. Pre-COVID, about 85% of your sales were in store. And what we saw during the pandemic is about 30% of your global sales channels shut down. From a $500 billion industry, we've dropped roughly 20% to around $400 billion in global sales. A huge shift in what's going on in the market. But our belief is that we have tremendous opportunity now this year as we start to emerge out of lockdown and we grow into 2022. During the pandemic, what we've seen from many brands is streamlining of ranges, just getting stuff through e-commerce channels and into those stores that are open to keep our sales momentum moving and to support consumers in the products that they're searching for. But what we've also seen is a cessation of new product development. Innovators, formulators, marketing people have been furloughed and at home, and there's been a lot of recycling of existing brand products rather than a true focus on innovation, which is incredibly difficult in the beauty industry. What we recognise now is huge opportunity for growth and development, and that is absolutely about driving sales through innovation. We're looking at a bounce back, and that's because innovation captures market share and drives sales for you. But as packaging experts, what we recognise is that pace and speed and agility that we're seeking means we have to efficiently manage the new product development process. And while we're often thinking as brands about our formulations and our physical products, the packaging part of that is your vehicle for getting consumers to spot your product and get loyal to your brand. Your packaging is your vehicle for communication and is absolutely key to your new product development process. So it has to be part of your bounce back program. The issues that we see for many brands in the beauty and cosmetic sector is that there are tremendous challenges to speed to market, and this particularly affects the packaging, label and artwork requirements. Those are increasing dramatically for a number of reasons. If you're selling a single product, it will have multiple SKUs as a result of the regulations and requirements for communication on pack around the world. So even for small brands, your complexity of artwork, according to just to legislative requirements, can go through the roof quite quickly when you're growing your business. What we also see today is a huge amount of complexity in actually trying to deliver a new pack or product to market. I've talked about this many times, but it's quite typical that we could see, the countries are not typical, but just to give you a sense of it, we see the artwork being developed in New York, the plates for printing production in Birmingham, the printing's actually happening in Poland, and the packing could be happening in China for supply into Australia. I'm taking an extreme situation there, but as a brand, trying to coordinate all those contributors to the new product can be really quite complex and challenging in terms of draining speed, in terms of execution. Thirdly, we're very challenged as a world today with legislation and liability for our products. You only have to look at, for example, in the food industry with Natasha's law that's coming in as a result of an allergen issue for Pret a Manger, the food service chain. The costs for repackaging and recalls can be extremely high if you get it wrong, and the liability and damage to your reputation can also be significant. We have to take this into account when thinking about bringing products first to market right first time. And lastly, this is ingrained in us. We want to protect our brand equity around the world, even nationally or locally. We want consumers to recognise our brand and purchase first through loyalty. Packaging has to deliver your brand consistency and integrity, not only just to secure those sales, but also to ensure that counterfeiting and fraud doesn't creep in as a problem. So all of these dynamics, which are somewhat uncontrollable, actually affect your packaging development process. And it's a fast-paced situation that you find yourselves in where it can drain your speed to market if you're not careful. There was a recent study done by the Economist Intelligence Unit looking at the internal obstacles as well that impact brands in their speed to market, but also how that translates into the consumer experience. What they found was that 27% of companies that they surveyed actually operated with silos within their own organizations. So roughly, a quarter of businesses struggle to connect, for example, their marketing and their operations teams, their sales and procurement teams. There's disconnections going on, which again causes miscommunications, errors and waste. 27% also have a lack of integrated information systems. Many of us in packaging development in the beauty and cosmetics sector are relying on email to send files around. We're not using integrated communication that enables one source of truth for everybody that's involved. And then thirdly, many companies cited inflexible technology and application infrastructure. We've always done it this way, culture can prevail, meaning I'm doing well in my part of the business, but I'm using a technology that doesn't necessarily work elsewhere. Unfortunately, in packaging development, we have specific needs. We have very large files, we have graphics demands. It's very different data sources than perhaps running a typical manufacturing or general industrial operation. So the development of technology specific to packaging development needs is key to driving that success in the process. The other challenge that we see is that consumers are changing too, and their behaviour is not what we've always seen. If we take the cosmetics and beauty sector, it's one of the most innovation-driven and fast-paced markets I've personally worked in. It's driven by fashion and design at the end of the day, which consumers are incredibly in touch with, particularly in the light of social media. But it's also driven by social, economic and technological changes that are ramping in pace all the time. The pace of life, as we all know, has accelerated, even though we felt like we've had something of a pause during COVID. Consumer needs and trends are changing continuously, and the colours, shapes, textures, graphics, and now hygiene and safety needs of the beauty consumer are constantly refreshing in today's consumer-driven world, essentially. Take the COVID pandemic as a key example of speedy change. Even 18 months ago, we wouldn't have been thinking particularly about hygiene and safety. It's always been a basic ticket to entry in selling a legitimate product, but it hasn't been top of the consumer's agenda, whereas today they're extremely concerned. On another note, if we look at the impact of David Attenborough's Blue Planet 2 series, what we suddenly saw was sustainability going to the top of the consumer's agenda. Put these factors, these extraneous trends that come into our market on a monthly, seasonal, annual basis, on top of the fashion trends themselves, and we very quickly got a very dynamic marketplace that we as brands need to be responding to. And response has to be agile, it has to be versatile. It can't be we do things in a certain way. We need to be changing constantly in order to keep up with what's going on in the outside world. Importantly, consumers also choose their favourite brands because those brands give them a sense of well-being and security. The main role of brand identity has always been to create a trust relationship between the brand owner and the consumer. Trustworthiness, well-being and reliability are amongst the most important value messages that a brand can communicate. Key messages that ultimately drive your consumer loyalty and repeat purchasing. Regardless of how we shop, these are still very valuable messages that are carried by the packaging itself. It is your vehicle to communication. And e-commerce hasn't changed that. In fact, it's even more important because a lot of the exploration that is going on is actually in the consumer's home. The feeling of security stems from our ability to read a box or a label or see what's inside the product and what the ingredients or allergens are. We want to know that the product's well protected, it's fresh, it's good to use or consume. And brands, through their packaging, give consumers orientation and clear guidelines. Our lives are changing. We're all consumers and our shopping behavior is changing. And we're buying more and more online because of convenience and cost being the key drivers. But that's a phenomena we need to be aware of. Let's start with what might be a quite surprising observation. Research shows that large global consumer packaged goods companies have been growing for a very long time. But life is changing, driven by these changes in consumer behavior that I've just talked about. And today, if we're honest with ourselves, growth is stagnant. If you look back to 2006 to 2011, the top 100 consumer packaged goods companies were growing at around 7.7%. I haven't got up-to-date data in the last 2 or 3 years, but in contrast to the more recent time period of 2012 to 2016, then we see the large CPG brands have only been growing at around 0.7%. That's no longer a real growth number. There's a problem. Large brands are struggling with growth, and we need to understand why. Our view is that innovation is becoming ineffective, or at least it's part of the problem of stagnating growth. Do consumers really feel that the innovations that we're bringing to market work for them, that we're driving enough innovation, or is innovation essentially ineffective? Another recent study of 60,000 SKUs in the beauty sector that came to market discovered that only 55% of them made it to 26 weeks, or roughly 6 months, on shelf. That's an extremely high failure rate, and we know that innovation is particularly challenging. But if we put this in the context of brands in general in the FMCG world, refreshing their brand ranges on an average of every 6.6 months, it makes us wonder whether it's a lot of incremental innovation and repositioning going on rather than true innovation that's going to drive growth for a business. And then we have to question, why is that happening? Fundamentally, we need to start looking at whether does digital transformation today correlate with innovation, success and growth. And there's a reason why I'm questioning that. In a study by McKinsey of various industry segments, they asked companies where they think they are in their digital transformation journey. From no change at all, we're doing things the way we always did them, through to full digital adoption, connecting, automating and digitizing everything they do. They looked at 10 different industry sectors and found out that the consumer packaged goods industry is the sector with the lowest level of digitization. In connection with what we learned earlier about the consumer experience and the impact our speed to market is having, and the fact that smaller CPGs are eating up the growth in the market who tend to be digitally native, this observation has a significant impact on the way we think. Larger CPG companies are lagging behind in digital transformation, and this is impacting their growth considerably. So what does digital transformation actually mean for a beauty brand? It's as simple as 3 pillars. First of all, digitization of the artwork and packaging process. This connects people, ensures we're all working on a digital rather than analog, call it manual process, and increases our speed of decision making and ability to move the process forward. Automation is the second step, automating the key manual steps and taking away the potential for human error or to introducing problems into the process. And then thirdly, it's about connection. It's about connecting within companies as well as to the external stakeholders in the process. And when we talked about that international complex network of contributors to a new product development project, you can see why that connectivity could be extremely powerful in driving a brand forward. There's also been a study by the Boston Consulting Group, another significant market research agency of late. And this study was actually conducted in the manufacturing industry, but I think its learnings are incredibly telling for the beauty and cosmetics sector as well. They did a study into what common barriers there are to large companies in adopting digital transformation, in digitizing, automating, and connecting the way that they do business. What they found was that the number one reason companies stymied their attention to this was just simply time and resources. You have to take the time out to strategically assess your situation, to focus on digital transformation, and almost step back to step forward to understand what's going on in your business, process map it, and then move forward into change. Taking that time, particularly when scenarios like COVID have been in play, is incredibly difficult. Secondly, securing internal funding for a digital transformation program can also be tricky. It's a lot easier for someone to pitch for funds when it can be seen there are direct sales as a result, or we can measure the return on investment clearly for the product or building or whatever it is that we're putting in place. Where digital transformation is touching many, many parts of the business, some of the tangible measures can be quite difficult to assess in their first instance. Thirdly, culture. Culture can really inhibit companies moving forward in terms of digital transformation. We've always done it this way thinking, and my part of the business is doing fine, can hold back companies from really looking at the big picture and the end-to-end process of a brand operation. Fourthly, actually managing the process of implementation can be pretty scary if you haven't got the right support and the right understanding in place. And 40% of these companies indicated that it's the implementation process that they were concerned about. There are many other factors, but the last one, which I think was particularly telling, was about selecting the right technology. Taking a technology into a business that we don't really understand, but we know it has benefits, takes companies out of their comfort zone. And having the confidence to see that these companies have done it before, they relate to the market that we work in, they get what we're doing, they're tailored to our environment, can make all the difference to speeding up adoption of digital transformation. The company also looked at the state of digital transformation today in 2021. And what they identified was that 67% of companies they talked to are accelerating their plans for adoption of digital transformation. The whole adoption of e-commerce, as using Teams, being on webinars like this, has made everybody think differently about digital technology. And those brands that are not stepping into this space are going to start losing competitive edge unless they join the party and move forward as well. From our perspective at ESCO, thinking about a change, making that leap of faith into digital transformation shouldn't feel like this. It should just feel more like a staircase that takes you forward. And companies like ESCO are supporting brands in the beauty and cosmetics sector to help you make that leap. So how do we start? Well, realistically, what we need to do is identify the key areas of opportunity within a brand. Where is time being lost in our business? Where does stuff get stuck? Why are we having problems in this part of the process? Where are too many people involved? Too many resources being consumed? Where is cost being absorbed in us getting a product or pack to market? Where are the errors happening? And who are they happening with? And where are the problems physically located? Is it in one operation over another, one department over another, or even in a different geography? We need to understand where those areas of waste are forming in our concept to completion process. At ESCO, we believe there's simply a winning formula for successful packaging management processes. It's about looking at the process in terms of, or digital transformation in terms of 3 individual areas. First, your people. Second, your process. And thirdly, your technology. All of those are intrinsically important. If you do digital transformation and just focus on the process and the technology and don't take the people with you, your culture doesn't stay with you. The adoption of new technology can be extremely difficult to input. If you don't map the process that you have today and tailor the technology to what you're doing, You're trying to land in a new system that people don't understand, that doesn't relate to what you do, and it's trying to put a square peg in a round hole. It's absolutely key that we take the people, the process, and the technology independently and work together to deliver success. At ESCO, we've recognised a number of best practices. First and foremost, it's about setting clear objectives for what you want to accomplish. Why are we looking at digital transformation? What do we think it will do for us? If we understand where our pain points are and our problems, can we set objectives for what we want to solve? And ultimately, it's about visioning what the future state could look like, what it needs to be to accomplish the growth and profitability objectives of the brand. It's about understanding that your future state will also change over time. I talked extensively about the pace of change in our industry today that's coming from things we can control and things that are completely out of our control. But there is no point planning for a fixed future. That just simply doesn't exist. And COVID over the last 18 months has taught us that. What we do is plan for our vision and our future state, but with a view to moving the goalposts as we move forward if needed, because we can see new trends coming forward or new needs in the business. What ESCO has produced is a digital maturity model, which there's just a little snapshot on the screen for you there, which is a step-by-step guide to assessing where you're at today on your digital maturity model. It just asks you a few very simple questions around your people, around your processes, and around your technology, and puts you on the model in terms of whether you're a reactive business, an organized business, a digitized business, whether you're connected, or whether you're truly intelligent. And when you've positioned yourself, it can then help you with developing a next step framework to move along the path to digital transformation. The reality is this is a journey. It's not a process of implementation and an end. That fast-paced changing nature, particularly in beauty of the market, means we're constantly learning, constantly bringing new technology to place to support you. And we have to think of digital transformation as a path we're walking along rather than, hey, we've arrived and that's it. We're constantly future-proofing the way that you can deliver competitive edge through your quality, through your consistency, through your brand performance. So first of all, let's talk about the process element of the winning formula. In terms of process, the starting point of looking at digital transformation is assessing your current state of conditions in terms of manual processes and digital processes. Where have we got software that works for us? Where are we doing things where we've got bottlenecks? And reviewing that. There's something called value stream mapping, where you can actually look at your packaging development workflow from concept to completion, artwork through to press, and look at each individual stage, who's involved, what are they doing, where are the issues, and map that out. You then decide on your future state. Now we understand where are our islands of success within our business, where are the bottlenecks and problems areas, how could we solve it, and what would that look like is part of the discussion. Many companies we work with, because it can be an all-consuming process of conversion when you start it, begin in phases. They tackle particular parts of their workflow in order to create the end future state that they're looking for. And some processes of implementation and development and implementation can take 2 months, 3 months. Some may take a year to 18 months, depending on the scale and size of the brand and the complexity that we're dealing with. In driving the project to completion, what the project must absolutely do is align to your objectives. Not having a group of experts coming in, just giving best practice on technology and process, but absolutely understanding the needs of the business, your future growth strategy. Where are you operating? Where do you want to drive new business in the future? And aligning that technological development, that digital transformation to your core objectives of your business. From a profitability and growth perspective. And importantly, in assessing your process, it's also about incorporating all the subject matter experts in your business, but also from your customers and your suppliers and your key stakeholder groups. It's not about looking at this in department isolation. It's about taking the complete workflow and bringing everybody into the assessment and discussion. Finally, it's about capturing the inputs and outputs of the process and collating all the data and documents so that we truly understand end to end what we're doing, what's happening, why it's happening, and what needs to be improved. At ESCO, we have a services team who work with extensive experience in the industry and particularly in the beauty and cosmetic space. And we have a deep understanding of the challenges and best practices that can be used with you. We can take case studies from other brands and look to show how it can be done. And we take best practice from working with a whole range of industries around the world to help you implement quickly. The second tranche of focus, and probably the most important in my opinion for the success of a project, is looking at your people and what they require from the process. As I've said before, it's about involving all stakeholder groups inside and outside the company. And it's about having a centralized team driving the process, but working regionally, working at a local level to ensure consistent adoption everywhere. Everybody understands the objectives of the conversion. Everybody understands what's needed. Everybody's on board about what's in it for them. It's about building a communications plan. This is absolutely about organizational change management in its classic sense. When processes change, people get very uncomfortable. They either resist or they're open, and you get these early adopters that are very quickly becoming champions and driving it for you. But the key to smoothing that process is looking at classical best practice in organizational change, building a strong communication plan that is consistent, clear, and regular. And ultimately, buy-in and success from your organization depends on that. How ESCO can help is that we have an organizational change management practice with a framework to navigate multi-country and diverse stakeholder complexities. We work at a very local level with some teams, and we work internationally. We're a global company delivering integrated hardware and software that embraces the whole perspective that you need to address. And the third pillar that we talk to is technology. And clearly, choice of technology is critical to the packaging development workflow, as it's such a specific niche discipline. In terms of adopting technologies into a beauty cosmetics brand with packaging development requirements, what you need is digital process management, removing the manual process and automating your step-by-step processes. What you need in particular in packaging is a flexible and configurable solution. There is no point taking an off-the-shelf solution for packaging development as a process. The move from brand into pre-press has so many nuances, its own language almost, in terms of dealing with packaging development, that you need a technology that's absolutely tailored to the needs of this scenario. It's about managing all the different components of what you do, keeping that future state in mind and automating in a seamless way across your project management, your specifications and briefing, your review and approvals process, into your automated workflow and through to your reporting and analytics at the end of it. Connecting it to give you transparency and visibility of everything that's going on, reducing the errors, giving everybody one source of truth, making sure everybody's playing on the same playing field in delivering that pack to market at speed. And importantly, it's about extending the workflow that you're operating to include more or all of the end-to-end artwork process. Your designers, your art workers, your printers, your pre-press operators become one seamless flow of data and information to manage your process from end to end in a smooth and efficient way. Having discussed all of that, and it can feel a little bit overwhelming, what would better look like at the end of this? Why would I put my business through this? Why do we need to adopt digital transformation? Fundamentally, it's about achieving clean and complete data collection in your packaging development process. It's about the ability to do faster artwork approvals. All of you will know you send a piece of artwork off, there's numerous people that need to approve and check things. You can be unsure as to what status the job is at. Have I got the right version? Have I got the right image? Can I find what I'm dealing with? It's an approved way to track change requests. life becomes very complicated, particularly when we're dealing with hundreds and thousands of SKUs. It gives you automation of the version comparison and reliable version control so that you can trust what you're looking at is the document, the file that's going to go forward into production. It enables you to have better tools for quality control, and it improves collaboration with your external partners, be that reprographics houses, printers, designers, whoever you're working with. And importantly, it brings back control to you through project visibility and traceability. At ESCO, we work with a technology called Web Center. Web Center is a single collaborative tool, a software system that manages and automates your entire artwork process from concept to completion. It manages the content briefs, it assigns and completes tasks from all your stakeholders, and it speeds up the review and approve process, all with a clear data reporting dashboard that's easy to use and intuitive. The dashboards enable you to have complete 24/7 visibility of what's going on with a new project. You can work remotely, as you can see on the laptop here. It's not requiring huge server capacity or complexity in the way that it's handled. It manages the entire workflow, and you can track and store content and assets as a digital asset management tool as well. Ultimately, what Web Center is doing is driving up your quality, driving up your speed to market, eradicating errors from manual intervention in the development process. It's boosting your compliance by getting your product right first time, and it's decreasing your content costs. Rather than recreating lots and lots of content, you're getting access to your assets with repeatability and the quality that you need. And an important point, which people don't often think about in terms of bringing technology into their business, it actually boosts the job satisfaction of the people in your workflow. It's freeing up employees to concentrate on more value-adding roles rather than administration of trying to find files, trying to chase down approvals. It makes the job more enjoyable. When we look at the results of Web Center in the beauty industry and in many other industries, what we see is a doubling of speed in the approval cycle. And when you consider your speed to market is absolutely critical to grabbing market share when you have a new innovation or a new range launch, that speed to market relies frequently on that approval cycle as opposed to the production process itself. So speeding up that approval cycle, getting clarity and taking the errors away up front really helps to drive that acceleration. What we see is a 30% increase in capacity with a best-in-class workflow through this process. What that means is you can handle more SKU developments, you can handle more projects with the same amount of people doing the jobs. And ultimately, it's reducing about 40% time in the pack development process. It's reducing about 40% of the time, again, accelerating your speed to market, or indeed enabling you to take on more jobs and more work more quickly. So at ESCO, having said all that, our vision is to empower you, the brands, to anticipate and satisfy the demands of your consumers, because your world is accelerating and you need help to deliver more quickly. What we do is create and integrate technologies that connect your people and your processes and your data for you to be able to react quickly and deliver quality products and content to the market right first time. This isn't all about the packaging development process itself. It's also about your marketing collateral, your adverts, your imagery. Everything can be handled by Web Center with one simple solution. Just to give you a sense of that and how ESCO is absolutely tailored to the packaging world across multiple industries, around 14 of the top 25 global pharmaceutical companies work with our products. 8 of the top 20 retailers in the USA are working with Web Center. 10 of the top 15 global CPG companies are working with it. And within the global health and beauty market, P&G, L'Oreal, Unilever, and Coty are all working with us. Just a final note, and I'm hoping I'm about on time. A little note from one brand that I'm hoping you all know very well, Boots, which is now aligned to Walgreens. Boots have implemented ESCO Web Center over the last few years, and this is a quote from one of their leaders in the business, where They claim ESCO Web Centre has increased their productivity by an estimated 50%, which in today's world where it's highly competitive, that's important. I honestly couldn't tell you anyone else I'd want to work with. The process is really, really easy. The system itself is easy to work with, and the people are great. I love it. And that for me summarizes really the journey of digital transformation. This is about technology, it is about data, it is about digital, but it's very much about people. And we recognize that at ESCO, that we work with you, the people, to deliver the efficiency and the effectiveness that you need in driving your digital transformation process. Thank you very much for your time. And can I take any questions?
Thank you, Jo. That was a wonderful talk to end the day, and I'm sure it has inspired many delegates to embrace agility and digital transformation. We do have a couple of questions, so we've got time for them. So thank you very much to everyone who sent in a question. The first one has come from, who's it come from? Geeta. So thank you very much, Geeta. So they've asked, what is meant by a communication plan? Is it a digital communication plan solely? And if so, will that plan be devised to communication on digital platforms?
That's a very good question. In the spirit of the presentation, it's absolutely understanding that you have to be communicating as a business. So it's a classic communication plan. Can we drive that through a digital platform? Of course we can. It can absolutely be part of the program. But it's about understanding that cultural, philosophical view of change management and really bringing the communication of why we're doing this, people understanding what's in it for them in terms of making this transformation successful. Too many companies go into this with sort of an IT mindset, and absolutely it is an IT project. But fundamentally, you've got to take the people with you, because you either end up with people leaving the company because they just feel lost and not part of what's going on, and they're losing skills, or they're not doing it the way they were before, or they struggle, and your success in terms of delivering the program and securing the benefits that you're looking for is slowed down. So absolutely, it's a pure communication plan in the sense of, who do I need to be talking to? When do I need to be talking to them? And making sure they understand what our objectives and metrics are and what's their role in all of this. Mm-hmm. But absolutely, it can be digitally delivered as part of getting people used to this new world. It's not just about sticking things on emails, that's for sure.
And we talked a lot, as mentioned, agility. So I was wondering, what was ESCO's typical implementation times?
It really varies by company, and it's a question that we get asked a lot. We go as quickly as we can, culture allowing. A typical implementation could take 3 months, but it could also take 2 years if it's been phased for a large organization. So there is no perfect answer to that. Smaller companies can move very quickly. But I think what's important to understand, this isn't dropping a technology in and saying, square peg in a round hole, you just adapt around it. This is absolutely being able to tailor this technology to your needs as a business, your workflow, your program of activity and your objectives, so that the core technology, the software, has a basic hierarchy and structure, but ultimately it's completely configurable to your working environment. It connects different systems in your business and brings your business together. And in the same way that I'm sure many people listening may have been subject to an ERP system implementation or an MIS system implementation, it creates a standard for everybody to work to, but what it does is absolutely configures and tailors around the packaging development and marketing collateral development process, so that you have something that works for you in this particular area, but it has that connectivity and integrated nature to support the rest of the business as well.
Thank you very much, Jo. I'm sorry, but that's all what we've got time for today.
No problem.
Thank you very much. And yeah, but if anyone has any more questions for Jo or ESCO, make sure you go to the exhibitor tab and you'll find them there and you can have a chat further. So thank you very much, Jo.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening, everybody. Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.